Tennessee Temple's campus may be closed, but the Tennessee Temple community is still open. 43 years ago, James Sanders and I walked into Spurgeon Hall as incoming freshmen, the largest freshman class in the history of the school located in Chattanooga. James from Mesquite, Texas, associated with LeBon Drive and Gary Coleman. We're coming in from Charlotte, associated with Jack Hudson. There was really a pipeline coming from both of those places in the mid-'70s. And so James, the highlight of our freshman year from a scholastic standpoint was to have an Old Testament survey class with Dr. Wamble Porter. As many of you know, you ask about Dr. Porter occasionally. His health is in rapid decline, but man, what a faithful expositor of the Word, fun teacher to have. What was a memory you have from Old Testament and New Testament survey class?
Well, I think Dr. Porter's class was my favorite class. You know, as I think back on my time at Tennessee Temple, you know, I'll never forget his, you know, just his unique voice. You know, ask somebody to close the door in the back there, and we'll get started. And you know, that bell's for me. And but he was had very strict rules and things that he wanted to do and order in the class, but at the same time learned so much about the Word of God, very practical and helpful. And you know, he's just an icon for all of us that look back at our training and our time there.
I was on the campus at Dallas Seminary yesterday, and Howard Hendricks was the distinguished professor, otherwise known as Prof. Some of you guys are DTS grads, and so I guess you would call Dr. Porter our Howard Hendricks. The sophomore year, you played football in Texas, but obviously other than intramural football, and that was a whole other story. That was the only option for us to participate there. But you really got interested in the sport of soccer, and you got involved as a goalkeeper, and then encouraged us to come and say, hey, why don't you come be the manager of the team? Talk about that sophomore year and your experience with Jim Blair and the Temple soccer team.
Well, I think it actually started my freshman year because I had Jim Blair for a class, one of the classes, and he was talking about soccer. And I was just visiting with him after class, and he said, well, hey, why don't you come out and participate? And so, you know, he just opened his arms, and that's the way Coach was. But it was a great experience, and enjoyed playing soccer, but more than that, the camaraderie of the guys on the team, you know, just a super group of young men, and learned so much from them about just being a man and doing things the right way. So, you know, I cherish that time too.
It was good to see Don Moore while we were in Texas, and Don has had a limited presence with us on Crusader Chronicle, but a lot of you guys enjoyed his interview, and I really enjoyed the feedback you gave to him. And so very similar when we travel the country, meet some fellow Crusaders, kind of get caught up with them. Our junior year, a major highlight was to get plugged into Junior Boys Club. And so John Meyer was the leader of that group. He was the goalkeeper on the soccer team. And he also was intentional in recruiting me to participate with that particular discipleship group. So let's talk about Junior Boys Club for a moment. How impactful that was as a service project, getting involved in 9 to 12-year-old boys' lives.
You know, it was something you look forward to every week. It was very different from anything else we were doing there at the university. But, you know, having those relationships with those young men, and then once again the fellowship that was there, but knowing that we were impacting lives of kids and boys, and that didn't have anything to do with what we were doing there. But it was just a great experience, and really set me up a lot as far as what I've been doing, you know, since I've left Tennessee Temple in education, and just learning how to be with children and love children and help nurture them.
I was with Bobby McNair recently in the state of Alabama, and so great to see this guy out there serving God, and to think about that 9 to 12-year-old time frame. He and so many, obviously they had parents that were providing a good model in the family unit. They had others surrounding them that participated in that whole developmental process. But he spoke about that chapter of his life. He really appreciated us as students, you know, putting time and effort into that on Thursday nights, but we also did camp outs. Never forget going up to DeSoto State Falls and enjoyed some time with those guys. And so Junior Boys Club was a great proving ground, a laboratory experience to some of the things that Dr. Porter and others were giving us in the classroom, but that lab experience was neat. Well, the senior year rolls around, you know, narrowing the field for who Mrs. Wright was. And so God sent you a Temple student from Ohio. Tell us about your family, what God has blessed you with, not just a marriage, but also children and grandchildren. Catch the guys up to speed on your family life.
Okay. Well, Cindy and I were married in the summer of 1980, and we were married on August 2nd. I think maybe within 2 weeks, we were here in the Dallas area in Garland at Garland Christian Academy, and we started our life together here and worked there for several years. And we had 3 children. We have a son, a daughter, and a son in that order, and we're the proud parents of 4 grandchildren. We have children in Waco, Austin, and Houston, and of course we're in the Dallas area. So if you're ever in any of those areas of Texas, well, there's somebody that is going to be associated with us, and you might catch a meal or possibly if you need a place to stay. But we feel blessed with our children and our in-law, son-in-laws and daughter-in-laws, and just very blessed. We feel like that's one of the greatest blessings in our life that God has allowed us to be a part of.
One of the interesting aspects of our friendship of 43 years is of this weekend, by the way, when we joined as freshmen in that dorm at Spurgeon Hall, was to see his kids in these various places. We've been to Waco to see a Baylor game. We've been to Houston and have a chance to engage with Beth. And then Daniel, his youngest son, we really got to know well to the Gulf Coast. These guys came over and participated with some disaster relief. Daniel came on multiple occasions. I said, hey, I want to come see you play high school football. And we did that in 2007. So it's been neat to kind of watch his family develop and see that next generation come along. And then both of us experiencing what grandkids are like. I don't know about you, James, but to me there's a third dimension of love. There's a love for our wives, there's a love for our kids, but wow, that third generation is very, very unique. Well, we both had secondary education majors, and you came back to Garland, where you played football and graduated from at Gary Coleman's school and coached there for a while. And then you've also been in the public school realm for many, many years. So tell us about what education has looked like for you post-graduation.
I think it's whether you're in the Christian school, private school, public school, children are children. There are people, their family have needs, and I found that in both of those arenas, there's great opportunity to minister and to witness. We hear oftentimes that and I do believe that God has been kicked out of the schools. He's been kicked out of many things, and I certainly would affirm that has definitely impacted the moorings or foundations of our country, and that's a sad place that we're in. But at the same time, in the midst of all of that, there's still ministry and opportunity, and it's just a great blessing to be able to work with people in any setting and to just try to chip away and make a mark for the kingdom.
It was good to be with Carl Goodman, a fellow Temple alum. I was with him on Father's Day weekend in Roanoke, Virginia. And the Carl Goodman that walked the halls of Temple College was the faithful shepherd 4 decades later at his church in Roanoke, Virginia. This week, reconnecting with Don Moore, we were just with him a couple years ago. You joined me on that occasion in the Dallas Metroplex area. Hey, what we saw in Don Moore back in the 70s is what you see now. And obviously a heart of God and a heart of gold with both of those fellows. But I've also experienced that firsthand. Obviously, James being a Foxhole friend, we've had much more contact with him. And every place that I've gone to, his travels have taken him and his various assignments, both in the Christian school arena and in the public school arena. We have had a chance to observe him at work. And being a superintendent now in one of the Texas school systems, I was at a high school football game last evening. We typically go out and see an athletic event. He has responsibilities for that. He used to be a coach and then an administrator, and now is a superintendent, so more of a high level of decision making. But I got introduced to a couple of his staff members last evening, and as he walked away to continue on with his responsibilities, I said, hey, I've known this guy for 43 years, so I got a good file drawer I can share with you. And they enjoyed that story. But I said, what's one quality that you most appreciate about his supervision? And they both said a caring spirit. Well, that's what I saw as a freshman 43 years ago. And a guy that welcomed me into his world and had a chance to be involved in that particular realm. You're First Baptist in Dallas, this historic congregation. From the Carolinas came George W. Truitt, who went to Baylor first and then came and pastored for 47 years. Followed then by W.A. Criswell for 50 years. Get this, one congregation in a century had 2 pastors. That's just unbelievable. And if you ever get a chance to come to Dallas, you see that heritage on display. I'm looking forward being there tomorrow and seeing those displays again, particularly the Truett Library, having a chance to speak at Truett Memorial Church in George W. Truett's hometown of Hayesville, North Carolina. I was there back in May. It was his 151st birthday. The Sunday we were there. He accepted Christ as a teenager, began to get involved in things like a junior boys club. He started a school for Indians and disadvantaged people. And so they began to see God working in his life, recommended he come from Baylor for training, and then he goes to Dallas to pastor. And so just a famous pulpiteer, kind of Billy Graham of his era. We were talking about Woodrow Wilson, inviting him to go to World War I. So a lot of history at your church, but you're involved in the choir. You're the president of the choir. You guys went to Israel this year. So tell us about that experience, and I understand Steve Green, all the guys would enjoy his music. He came recently. So tell us about that experience with the FBC choir.
Yeah, so, one of the things I loved about Tennessee Temple was the choirs, the singing men of Temple, and we all remember what that was like. So, that plus Steve Green is what we were able to experience with the singing men of Texas recently, and it was a great blessing to just hear those music ministers from around the state, all participating. I think they're preparing to go to Carnegie Hall with Steve Green very soon. But just, really participating, just being able to participate and do something at church, being involved there, and love to sing, to the Lord. And but one thing, just a blessing to be in a church where we're seeing God move and work. The waters are stirred, which signifies, people are coming to know the Lord. And I just felt like it's just a great opportunity in our life for Cindy and I to be a part of something like that and experience that. So it's a blessing.
So as you followed this educational track from the classroom to the locker room to the administrator's role now as a superintendent, we're all longing to finish well. We were listening to a recent presentation I gave in Alabama, and both of us have reached our 60th birthday. So in that 6th decade of life, we begin to say, what does this look like moving forward? And finishing well is crucial. We can say that about Billy Graham from our hometown. He certainly honored God all the way until the end. Well, speaking to that particular topic, our desire to want to finish well for God.
Well, it's the culture that we live in. It's put your feet up, try to save up, put your feet up, and enjoy your years. And certainly there are times at the end of the day or end of the week where I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I'll just put my feet up. I'm tired, but at the same time, our pastor says, in God's work, there's no retirement. And so if you think that way, your health will allow you to continue on, and Lord willing, we're more effective now because we have gained that experience in what we do. And so why wouldn't you continue on? And the other thing is, if I didn't continue on in some structured work, what would I do? And right now, God hasn't shown me what else there is to do, so I'll just keep doing what He's shown me I should be doing.
Mm-hmm. As I think back to these last 43 years, some of you know our special, unique friendship, and we've taken the initiative over these 4.3 decades to make sure we contact each other frequently. And they visited us, we visited them, we've met in neutral places before, enjoyed some nice sporting venues. You might see today that we've got A&M gear and Clemson Tiger gear. We're headed down to Aggieland here in a little while, so he's hoping they can gig us. I'm hoping we can gag them. But we have some nice, healthy rivalries like that. But we have a chance to travel the country with the intentional way and talk about who's in your foxhole. And I share about my relationship with James, John Brooks, and John Zeller. Those have been my 3 foxhole friends over 4 decades. And I find that creates the most significant growth in a man's life. In a large group environment, men begin to discover God and discover life. In the small group environment, men begin to discuss life. We were riding on the road last evening just talking about the things of life, informal occasions to discuss things. But we've got to learn to do life together. And not every guy has a go-to guy. Who are you going to call at 2 o'clock in the morning? Who's going to be that first person that's going to be there to help pick you up when life is falling apart, when you're going through a major challenge? And so to go from a friendship to a foxhole friendship. And those early seeds were sown our freshman year. He was a brother. I was the oldest of 3 kids. He was the brother I never had on the older side. Only a few months older. but yet still as a peer, he weighed into my life, gave me guidance. He stretched me. I skipped speech communications in the freshman year. I didn't want to get up in front of people. Now the Lord's given us an opportunity to go to 42 states and share in men's conferences. He stretched me. He says, hey, you should come down here. You love athletics. You know, I didn't play soccer growing up, but I'm going to go dive into this soccer team. You love Coach Blair. Come be the manager. Hey, John Meyer talked to me about coming and working at the Junior Boys Club. So all of those three major aspects, the camaraderie of that team, I'd have missed out on. The development as a leader in Junior Boys Club. And then to just be able to experience those things in life. And so that's what a Foxhole friend will do. They love you the most to let you see them experience what God desires for us. We talk about in these sessions around the country, there's the purpose of a Foxhole friend. We talk about the profile of a Foxhole friend. We talk about the pursuit of a Foxhole friend. And I share stories about James when I speak with guys around the country. His profile that was important to me. You know, 1 Corinthians talks about that love we're to have, that brotherly love, that unique love that only God can have. There was very strong representation, that caring spirit his staff members were talking about, the football game last night. Hey, that was God's love coming out. He was interested in other people. Even people who are growing in their faith, a lot of times it's about their acquisition of knowledge. They're not willing to give away what God has revealed to them. And he's always been known to do that. There was a loyalty that was proven. He was telling me about even the choir director at First Baptist. You know, he said, hey, I know James has my back. I've experienced that for 43 years. And he's revealed blind spots to me. We've had a chance to have, good advice shared back and forth. When I make a major decision, he's going to weigh on that at some occasion. And so that's crucial to have that proven loyalty. And then some guys kind of get started late in life with finding a Foxhole friend, and they haven't had a 43-year run like we've had. And that's probably the most commonly things that's shared with me is like, wow, to have somebody at a 43-year level that you still have maintained contact and sustained the depth of that friendship. Now, James tells me that we're intentional about maintaining that, but that's why we're called the Intentional Way with Coach K. But we've enjoyed having a few moments with you today from the state of Texas. Get ready to head down to see the football game. James, what final comments do you want to share to the fellow Crusaders as they're out there marching on in life, attempting to serve God?
I think I would just tell everybody, you know, the thing that drew you into ministry or drew you in the direction of Tennessee Temple and that life, I would just encourage you to continue on. And I'd also like to say, you know, the Bible talks about that friend that sticketh closer than a brother. Jeff's that person. It doesn't talk about this friend that sticketh closer like a tick than a brother, but you know, the good thing about Jeff, you know, he's with you. You know, he talks about us being with him and being loyal to him, but all of us that know Jeff and have had the opportunity to experience, you know, some of that, sharing that life with him, we know that, you know, he is the epitome of that for all of us. And so I'm just very thankful that God allowed me to become a part of your life also back there, you know, in those early years. So, just carry on, men, women, and what you know the Lord has asked you to do.
This Crusader Chronicle page was designed to carry on the community. We were all saddened when the campus closed. But as I was walking the halls, and I took a lot of video excerpts, so maybe they're newer to the page, you can dial it back to a couple of years ago, and we went to all the significant buildings and shot some video footage, try to chronicle some things that happened in those times, just to kind of keep those memories alive when we talk to our kids and grandkids that will never hear about this place that technically doesn't exist from a facility standpoint, but it still exists here. Much like the temple era, you know, God closed that out. He started out with the tabernacle being a portable meeting place for us to encounter His presence. And so that's basically the way it is today. You know, there's a little bit of temple tabernacled in the state of Texas. There's a little bit of temple tabernacled in the state of Virginia when I visit Carl Goodman, and many others of you as well. So thanks for listening today. Hope you've enjoyed getting caught up with James a little bit. Some of you guys are more involved with social media than others. So we just try to be intentional wherever we go to chronicle some of these stories. And particularly, it's very significant to me this weekend, the 43rd anniversary of our freshman year. And to be here this weekend, to hang out, to experience life together, and to know Philippians 1:6 reminds us, he who began a good work in James Sanders, he who began a good work in my life will be faithful to complete it. And he's going to do that for you as well. Now on to the football game and have some fun for the ministry of hanging out. God bless you guys.